Welcome to the program on this Sunday morning. Today I want to tell you a story about two men and some cops. Yes, we have to go there today because this really happened. And so, since it really happened, it's news. And as always, here on Tyrone Bowman Live, I bring you the facts. I don't make this stuff up, I bring it to you as it occurs. Just like last week, I told you about the five black cops the five black, dirty, corrupt cops down in Memphis, and they deserve whatever punishment they have coming to them for the murder of the late Tyree Nichols. Now, this is coming from Baltimore. I'm going to show you two videos. One is from a television station in Baltimore. I think I put it in the caption already, but let me set the stage for you. A young man was on his way to a job interview. Goon squad of police officers, racist cops, pull him over. They gripped him up. After they gripped him up, you know, the usual thing, they're fearing for their lives, usual thing, stop resisting arrest. They put him on the ground. One of the racist cops pulled a gun out and put it to his head. And so while he had him choking him, had his knee on his chest, the young man said he couldn't breathe. So what did he do? He planted cocaine in a gun in his pocket. The investigation ensued. The young man tried to tell them, I'm not the person. So that's going to be in the second video. But listen to this story. And then I'll be back with my personal commentary. These things happen. When they happen, I'm going to talk about them.
On East Oliver Street near Washington Street in East Baltimore. An interaction with Baltimore police and 24-year-old Jamon Joyner. The encounter caught on police body-worn cameras. An officer shown on video pressing a handgun against Joyner's head while he was down on the ground, restrained. The video shared Thursday by Joyner's attorneys, Tony Garcia and Jessica Rubin.
What I do? I got him.
At one point, one officer puts his knee on Joyner's abdomen while his hand is around Joyner's throat. Then, while restrained, another officer, who defense attorneys identified as Detective Connor Johnson, then puts his hand on Joyner's throat. With his other hand, he presses his gun to Joyner's temple, keeping it there for more than 5 seconds. Defense attorneys for Joyner, who was arrested in the Broadway East neighborhood, say police used an unacceptable level of force against their client.
They were basically imprinting fear on him. It was basically very brutal, harsh, basically trying to, in my opinion, stamp fear in him. They wanted him to know that they could kill him if he did not stop.
Defense attorneys also say police did not have any reason to detain Joyner that day because he did not match the description of an armed robbery suspect that prompted the police interaction. The attorneys admit their client did have a gun on him, but it did not have anything to do with the initial engagement. At an unrelated news conference Thursday, Mayor Brandon Scott and Police Commissioner Richard Worley with reaction to the video and why no police officer involved has been suspended.
As I always say, we investigate everything thoroughly, and any action that should be taken will be taken.
Had I been in that position that officer was in, you're scared, you're fighting for your life because you don't know what he's going to do. So the officer did some things, we'll investigate it, and no, I'm not concerned that he's not suspended because he was out there doing his job.
The consent decree, BPD policy is very clear. The totality of the circumstances should have dictated what happened during that interaction. He didn't follow the rules. He didn't follow guidelines. He didn't follow policy. So when the commissioner is saying he was just doing his job, I strongly disagree. This was an unhinged tactic.
I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for watching. Here's another video for you.
All right. Let me talk about this for a moment before I show you the next video from Undisputed. misspoke in the beginning. The young man did have a gun on him. But this is the question. Why do you just pick up any random black guy? Because somebody said a black guy committed a robbery, so the first black guy you find, the goon squad comes, you grip him up, you throw him on the ground, you put your foot in his chest, you put your gun up to his temple, and then you're talking about you're fearing for your life. How are you in fear of your life? This is what happens in the age of Trump. These are the Trump police. These are the kind of police officers Trump wants to be on the police force. And then you saw the token black guy out there talking, because they're always going to put the black cop out front to try to justify what the white corrupt cops do. Now, here's a more in-depth analysis from Indisputable. Check this out, and I'll be back in a moment. When they do dumb stuff, I'm going to talk about it.
Baltimore cop decides to put his gun to the head of a man after a mix-up. Here it is.
Warning.
What I do? I gotta just put him in the right there. Yo, reach back on your shoe. Put him in my pocket. Do not reach. Put something in my pocket. He put something in my pocket. He put something in my pocket. Guns out. He put something in my pocket. Turn around. He put something in my pocket. Turn around. He put something in my pocket. He put something in my pocket. I got it. I have more video. This case actually went into an investigative.
Before Dr. Ritchie speaks, let me ask you a question. If that was 4 black cops doing that to a white young man, same scenario, they just go out and pick up any random white guy, arrest him, put a gun to his head. What do you think the outcry would be from the white community? You know darn well that the black cops would have been unceremoniously fired and charged. Same exact scenario. And then those of you in the comment section got nerve to be angry. What are you pissed off about? Just walking while black, driving while black. Any old black person will do. And then they lie and fabricate and try to justify what they're doing. And the real suspect got away. Let's get back to the video.
Phase, the defense attorney, or the attorney or the alleged victim there, says, first of all, the stop was improper. There was no probable cause to effect any type of arrest whatsoever. So there's a lot of confusion by the individual who is being accosted and physically assaulted by the police. With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show. There's more. Here it is.
Hey guys, we are giving out a ton of these DeWalt samples today.
These people keep putting all these goddamn commercials on there, so I'll get my money up and get some real equipment. Right now, it is what it is.
Hold on 1 second. Come here. I'm just clearing everybody out of here. Yes, sir. Yo, he just put a whole thing in my pocket, bro. It's on camera. Bro, it's on camera. You put it out of my pocket.
Put up the picture, full mask. I want to explain and try to clarify some of the chaos you see. The Baltimore State's Attorney Office, they decided on September 5th that they will not pursue criminal charges against a Baltimore detective who pressed his gun against the temple of a black man who was lying on the sidewalk and held down by other officers during an arrest. This arrest took place in May. Defense attorneys for Mr. Jamin Joyner, the 23-year-old man you see being arrested there. The attorney accused the police of using excessive force on Joyner and for stopping him without probable cause. Charges against Joyner were completely dropped. But the police officer's conduct is reportedly still under investigation by the local police department. Now, a video of the incident, which took place on May 23rd, captured by a body-worn police camera and first aired by WBAL TV News in July, showed a group of 5 cops. You got 5 police officers arriving at the scene in front of a corner bodega. This is in East Baltimore. The detective is Connor Johnson. Detective Johnson is the one who tried to restrain Joyner and place him in custody. The officers were responding to a robbery. It was a robbery in the area, and according to them, they were searching for a suspect described as a 6-foot black male wearing a brown hoodie and a ski mask. Joyner, who is about 5.
Let me address you for a minute, Mr. God Almighty. Let's talk about you pissed off, angry white folk for a moment, and I'll get back to the video. Let's talk about you pissed off, angry white people over nothing. You're pissed off because Barack Obama became president of the United States. And you're happy because you got a racist, bigoted Nazi president in the form of Donald Trump. You all can't stand when black men are bold and courageous, articulate and intelligent. So what, we're angry? We have a right to be angry. Just like you white folk, you're angry over nothing half of the time. And then when black men, when we stand up, when we unite, when we have a united front, you all get pissed off. Why? You get threatened? Are you intimidated? This is the program I designed and created. If you don't like it, then get the hell off the page. You don't have to come over here. I didn't send for you. I didn't invite you. If you don't want to be here, if you don't like the content, then don't watch it. But on Tyrone Bowman Live, I'm going to speak freely because it's my constitutional right to speak freely, the same way that racist, bigoted Republicans say every damnable thing that they want all the time, and they go unchecked 24 hours a day. Deal with it. I got some haterade juice just for you.
Feet 7 inches, was wearing a red and black shirt when he was detained by the department's district action team. Reported Baltimore Magazine. DAT is an 80-person unit created in 2017 after the police department disbanded its gun trace task force, whose members have been found guilty of racketeering, robbery, exhortation charges, and who commonly stop people without reasonable suspicion or probable cause, according to the report in the magazine. So what did Baltimore PD do? They rebranded them. Yes, let's just give them a new name. Keep the culture. New name. There's more. Detective Phil. You got a guy named Detective Phil Polanco. Phil Polanco told reporters in July that officers were, in fact, trying to put Joyner in handcuffs when he got away and fled on foot before being apprehended. In the video, Joyner is shown twisting away from officers and briefly running before being grabbed and held down on the sidewalk. Quote, he's reaching for something. That's what Detective Christian Agard screams. You can hear it. Quote, I ain't reaching for nothing. Joyner responds. And one of the detectives presses his knee into the chest of Joyner, who then says, quote, I can't breathe. Officers begin to search his pockets, and Joyner screams, what did you just put in my pocket? And he put something in my pocket. Johnson then put one hand on Joyner's neck, pressing his face against the sidewalk, and took out his service weapon, putting the barrel of the Glock 22 to his temple for about 6 seconds before pulling the gun away and standing up. In their arrest report, officers said they found a handgun, 8 live 22 caliber rounds, a magazine, and a powdery substance they suspected to be heroin in Joyner's possession. The public release of the video led to a demand from the Police Accountability Board. That Police Accountability Board is in Baltimore City, and they wanted Johnson to be suspended. So let's go to an exacting policy dynamic in Baltimore that was helpful, at least to a degree. They have an accountability board. Some call them a citizens review board. If you don't have one in your local city, make sure you support individuals running for city council and county commission and mayor and CEO to get one and make sure they have subpoena power. At least it provides transparency if there's no justice. Quote, I am sure nowhere in the officer training is it justifiable to point a gun at point blank range at the temple of an already subdued subject, said the board chairman of this accountability authority, Joshua Harris. Quote, mistakes like this have the potential to end lives or negatively impact them forever. He said and called for Johnson to undergo rigorous training on de-escalation and appropriate use of force and a firearm. These officers went over the top. This was unnecessary, unprovoked, and in the end, unacceptable. Tony Garcia, Joyner's defense attorney, told the Baltimore Sun, quote, they wanted to put an exclamation on their use of force, said Garcia. Not only is it excessive, but they wanted to imprint a mark of fear in his mind. That is unacceptable. That cannot be allowed to happen, end quote. Joyner's defense attorneys also complained that the police officers lacked probable cause to arrest their client, who did not match the description of the suspect they sought, and further noted that the victim told police at the scene of Joyner's arrest that he was not the person who robbed him. Police Commissioner Richard Worley defended Johnson's action, saying at a news conference in July, reported the Sun, saying he was out there doing his job. Okay, so they held him there. The person who was the actual victim of a crime, he comes by. He's likely in a police cruiser to do positive identification on the scene. They bring him there. He said, "Hey, you know what? That's not the guy." How is it that the victim was aware that's not the guy when the guy had on the ski mask? Well, remember, the guy was 6 feet tall and had on different clothes. The cops didn't understand that, obviously. There's more. Commissioner Worley said that he had been in a similar situation, or similar situations with an armed suspect trying to free his hands, and that, quote, you try to do whatever you can to get him in custody. You're scared. You're fighting for your life because you don't know what he's going to do. Joyner was charged with handgun possession or possessing a loaded handgun and drug possession. He spent 54 days in jail and missed reporting to a new job during that time. All of the charges were dismissed.
Now, let me comment right here, then I'll continue. All of the charges against Jordan were dismissed. You know why all the charges were dismissed? I can tell you because I'm a criminal justice major. Because he should have never been charged to begin with. That's the bottom line. And I'm preparing for a career to become a criminal defense attorney. And I'm telling you, if I come across corrupt cops, they will get no mercy coming from me. And let me tell you how you deal with these cops, because you know the system is going to aid and abet them. You know, their racist commanders and their racist superiors are going to uphold them. You take them to civil court. You tie up their time and you sue them. You sue them whether you win, lose, or draw. You make them take off time from work. Make them spend money that they don't have. Make the FOP take money out of the fund, defending rogue cops. Hit them where it hurts. Sue them all the time. And you don't even have to win. Donald Trump is suing everybody all the time, and he knows the majority of the time his lawsuits are frivolous. That's how you handle racist people in this nation, because they don't have any money. How would they like it if a black cop did that to someone in their family? Oh, then it would be crime, bloody murder. And where I come from, I see it happen all the time. People don't have no representation. They can't argue for themselves. They can't speak up for themselves. So, knowing the Constitution is fundamental. Reading is fundamental. And I welcome anybody's comments in the comment section. Just know this, when I get ready to fire back, can you take the heat? Because if you can't take the heat, then get the hell out of the kitchen. Because I'll give it right back to you. I'm not a mealy-mouthed black man. I'll say whatever I want to say. That's on my mind. The same way you talk in the comment section, I'll say whatever I want to say when I'm looking into this camera. And I ain't backing down from none of y'all because I ain't scared.
July for further investigation by the Baltimore State's Attorney's Office. The officer's conduct in the incident was under investigation by the Baltimore police. Spokeswoman Lindsay Eldridge said at the time of the video's release in July, noting that one of the officers involved, they have already been suspended. Following the state attorney's office's decision not to charge Johnson, Baltimore Police Department will finalize its investigation of the incident for potential policy violations and recommend any administrative charges to the Administrative Charging Committee, a civilian body that reviews all police investigations that involve a member of the public. Reported The Sun. I think the family is appalled, Garcia told Baltimore Magazine. They're very disappointed that this officer will not be held accountable. And neither will the officers who saw what happened and failed to report. They do have a duty to report in Baltimore. Baltimore police are operating under a 2017 federal court order consent decree over policing practices that violated citizens' constitutional rights, including unlawful use of force by its officers. The Justice Department investigation that led to the order came in the wake of the in-custody death of Freddie Gray, whose neck was broken in the back of a police van in April 2015. And if you remember, the reason why that happened is because they gave him what's called a rough ride. They put him in a paddy wagon. They don't strap him down. There's no opportunity for him to have any level of safety. And they start to hit every curve, every bump, every sharp turn in order to throw the individual around intentionally. Public defenders of Baltimore are concerned that officers in the DAT unit are resuming the kind of misconduct that the consent decree is meant to eradicate. Yeah, you changed the name, but they didn't change the culture of the defender's office. I'm glad you all are stepping up. Anecdotally, we're seeing lots of questionable stops and what appears to be falsely generated reasons for stops, said Deborah Cass-Levy, Director of Special Litigation for the Maryland Office of the Public Defender. We're definitely seeing the old school ways showing up again. Now, I have to pause on this irony because it's a beautiful one. The Public Defender's Office is not truly an adversarial office to the prosecutor. They basically work for the same government. Prosecutor's office, very well funded, budget galore. Public Defender's Office, they have a higher caseload. They have to fight for the little money they have. They don't get to pay for witnesses, expert testimony, etc. Prosecution does. You rarely hear the head public defender or a special public defender coming out to talk against the very city she works for. Big ups to you. Last year, Garrison Project, an investigative journalism organization, reported that an analysis of information by the Maryland Public Defender's Office about the police district action team found that its 79 officers have been investigated more than 700 times, including 410 investigations for the use of force, 257 internal affairs investigations. DAT's officers have also faced 21 civilian review board investigations, 9 civil lawsuits, constantly defunding the police. The date on the investigations is not indicative of impropriety, said Eldridge, the police department's public affairs officer. Due to their role and enforcement function, we understand that our DATs are subject to a greater number of complaints in the execution of their duties. From traffic stops, executing warrants, identifying individuals responsible for drug trafficking and violence, these teams focus on many high-level offenses that can produce dangerous interactions, she said. The implementation of reforms by the Baltimore Police Department ordered in the consent decree was only about 5% complete as of January, said Worley. And by the way, usually specialized units that are doing it right and they're going after the big fish, they don't have that number of complaints. Those are street complaints, okay? This is a group jumping out, acting like gangsters rather than cops. Because if you are part of a specialized investigative unit, you utilize your leverage, your expertise, investigative prowess, and you don't have these kind of street complaints every single day. Dear brother Thought.
Steven, is that your new book?
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave it right there. They're just like the 5 black racist cops who are all going to prison down in Memphis. They had a squad called the Scorpio Squad. And those were the 5 black corrupt police officers that murdered Tyree Nichols. I don't care who you are. I'll call you out. Just because you're black don't mean you're my brother. If you're doing corrupt things and violating people's civil and constitutional rights, and you're playing games with people's lives, and you're just blatantly doing things because you think you can get away with it, that's why there's Tyrone Bowman Live. I'm talking to my people. Subscribe, Tyrone Bowman Live. And I'm going to continue to be me. I'm not apologizing for it. This is unfiltered, unapologetic, and uncompromising at Tyrone Bowman Live. You go tell Donald Trump to stop being a race baiter. Tell Donald Trump to get rid of his venom, his hatred, his Nazism. Now go have that conversation with your dear leader. Never surrender, never quit.